Well, good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana weather. Lots to talk about on our updated night. Winter weather is certainly on the way, and it looks like December is going to initiate winter with a bang. December 1, of course, is meteorological winter, the start thereof, and looks like it's coming in with a bang. We've already got a winter storm watch issued for a good portion of southwest Indiana already, and actually it extends even into the Ozarks and really on down. Now, as far as the counties that are included in here at this point, right now, it looks like we have Gibson, Pike, Spencer, Warwick, Vanderburgh, and Posey. And, of course, these are controlled by the Paducah Office of the National Weather Service, and, of course, they've issued their storm watch already. These counties here are controlled by the Indianapolis office, and these counties here are controlled by the Louisville office, so we kind of have a complicated setup in the way here we are here in southwest Indiana as far as coverage on watches and warnings. I do expect that this will be filled in, though, pretty significantly. As time goes by, I suspect we'll see some sort of watch or advisory and probably upgraded to warnings for each of the counties. And as we go in, I think you will start to see why. As we just take a look at the radar setup right now, here we are about 7 o'clock on Tuesday evening. You can see a pretty big snow system, storm system already moving in through here. This is with a cold front that's going to be coming our way, and so you have a cold front causing this. That will eventually slide our way, and it will be through here and sort of have an Arctic blast of cold air with it. At the same time, what you will have is plenty of warm, moist Gulf moisture coming up, and that is a dangerous scenario for us, as we'll see on the models as we go throughout this. If I just take you out to the water vapor model and just give you an idea, I want to show you the setup. I want you to notice this large trough that's digging in across the South U.S. This is the polar jet stream. And this trough will eventually come over us. We're in a ridge right now, so we're in that warm pattern. But this cold Arctic air, that is all headed our way, that we'll talk about in a minute. At the same time, the southern jet stream is going to be moving in through like this, and as this trough digs through here, it's actually going to interact with this southern branch of the jet stream, and right over in this area is going to form it's going to phase together, as we call it, and form a new low pressure system, and that, of course, will then be something that will develop around in here, slide off this way. Keep in mind, as that's happening, as that slides through, we've already had the cold front move through, so we'll already have the cold air in place, and with that additional Gulf moisture, it's going to lead to really what could be some pretty significant chaos for us. So let's just talk about the setup. Time it out wise, here we look at the Euro model, probably our most reliable of the models. Here we are at Thursday, early on Thursday morning, about 1 a.m., and the cold front is just passing through at this time. You see the cold front would be positioned right about here, moving through, so that's going to bring this Arctic blast of cold weather in through it. As you move through the day on Thursday, I believe temperatures will be falling, so we got one more good warm day in the 60s to deal with, and then it's downhill from there. As this moves through, then you notice this moisture surge coming through us. It'll start off as a good rain event on Thursday for us, but then by Thursday night we transition into what could be potentially a wintry mess. What type of a wintry mess are we talking about? Potentially some freezing rain and maybe even some sleet mixed in with it before changing all over to snow and giving a mess. And as you go through here, you can see that this is it's just a mess. And remember, this first blue line right through here is what we would call the rain-snow changeover line. And you still have a lot of light gray behind this that moves through us. And you say, well, that's not a whole lot. That's a lighter shade. But keep in mind, yeah, that wouldn't be a whole lot of precipitation if that were just rain. But when you convert that over to snow, even 1/10 of an inch of liquid rain would convert to 1 inch of snow. So we're talking about this being a fairly significant winter storm if this pans out the way this wants to pan it out. And then we've got more problems to go behind that as high pressure builds in for the weekend and dries us out a little bit, but it will be cold. But notice a warm up comes, just a little bit of a warm up, not a real big one, before another storm system actually develops down here in the Ozarks and moves up. And this particular storm system, if I could get it on here for you, yeah, right in here. Having trouble getting this thing to move for me. This is actually for next Monday night into Tuesday, and this looks like right now it could be an even more potent storm system than the one we're thinking about on Friday. So again, this is very preliminary, but we're talking snow totals with this could be even higher. So that's the way the Euro model wants to take about it. Let me show you a couple of other things that we want to be concerned about. Let's talk about the probability of snow accumulation here. The probability of at least 4 inches or more of snow accumulation, the Weather Prediction Center has put us in a slight risk zone already for at least 4 inches of snow, so keep that in mind. The other thing that I'm concerned about right now is the freezing rain, and so let's take a look at our probabilities of freezing rain as we go throughout the day. As we go throughout the day, here we come by 7 p.m. on Thursday. You see it moves ever so slightly over us. By the time you go into the overnight hours, you're getting into some very high probabilities of freezing rain over Kentucky. Notice a sharp cutoff in that as you get towards the Ohio River, but our counties along the Ohio River could have to worry about some freezing rain. And then, of course, as you move through the day, those probabilities continue on a little bit, and before it starts to change over to an all-snow type of setup. And of course, this is what the Weather Prediction Center has put together as far as probabilities for freezing rains, accumulation of at least 100ths of an inch or more. And in general, it puts us a good 50% or higher risk for that. So that's something that we want to keep in mind as we go throughout this day. I think if you're in central Indiana and northward, you won't have to worry about it. But us here down in southwest Indiana, most certainly, we could have an issue with some freezing rain. And I also believe sleet could be another possibility of some things that we're going to have to worry about, in addition to the snow. The snow would be on top of the icy precip that will start out first. I believe, as a general timeline, if we want to sort of time out things, on Thursday night, that's when we're looking for an icy mess. Okay, so what kind of an icy mess? Sleet and freezing rain is basically what we're going to be looking at. And then as you move into the day on Friday, we're going to be looking at an icy mess changing over to a snow setup. And keep in mind that snow setup could be fairly significant with this. It could be anywhere from an inch to maybe even 8 inches in parts, and it really just depends on what model you believe and where this is at. And right now, unfortunately, we don't have any way of narrowing it down more than what I'm going to show you. So let me just show you the raw data as it stands right now, and we'll talk about what I think about the raw data. So this is the GEM model, the Canadian model, and you can see that it sets a fairly heavy band up just a little bit north of the Ohio River. And remember, these blues start off at 2 inches, and by the time you're getting to this first shade of purple, you're talking 6 inches. So this is a good 2 to 5 inches for most of southwest Indiana, with pockets a little bit higher. By the time you get up in points of Vincennes and a line all the way through maybe Bedford and Bloomington, you're talking about 6 or 7 inches, maybe a little bit more with this. So we're talking about a significant snowstorm out of this, according to the Canadian model. Now, according to the Euro model, we're also looking at a pretty significant event, and I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of leaning more towards a combination of the Canadian and Euro models than I am the GFS and NAM, and I'll talk about why here in a second. Well, in a nutshell, let me just say this: they've been more consistent than the others, and I think they've been handling the situation better. So, but as you notice with this, you're talking by the time Sunday comes, we could have 7, 8 inches here along places in the Ohio River, maybe even 5 inches. So if you believe the Euro model with this, you know, a good 4 to 8 inches of snow would not be out of the question, on top of maybe up to 1/4 of an inch of ice. So this is not something that we want to play around with. This could cause some very serious travel problems. And if you believe the GFS is also trending very heavier as well. The GFS I've almost thrown out until today because the reality is it's just been flip-flopping back and forth too much. But it's starting to come in line with these others as well now and bring those heavier totals. The only outlier right now really is the NAM model, and the NAM wants to push the higher totals a lot more north. But you notice it's very bullish with the totals of even 8, 10, even 14 inches. I just don't see that out of this system. I think this is a little bit too high. And frankly, the NAM model doesn't handle snow all that well to begin with. It's just not its forte, so take that with a grain of salt. But again, the idea is by the time you get south of the Ohio River, a sharp cutoff. So it's looking from the way most of the models are taking this, with the exception really of the European model, everything brings the heaviest snow totals to north of the Ohio River. The big thing that we'll also want to talk about too with this is the bitter cold temperatures are on the way. I know this is a little bit hard to understand, but just kind of bear with me. What you're seeing here essentially is a temperature series line, and so this is temperature over time, okay? So let me go through this. What you're looking at right here, the red line is the freezing line, 32. So here we go. By the time we go on Friday, of course, is right here. We're looking at a high temperature on Friday morning by the time we start out near freezing, and then it actually falls throughout the day on Friday. So, and of course, if we get snow accumulation, that's to be expected. And you notice that we don't really warm up once we go past Friday anywhere very far at all with this. And check out, these are your expected high temperatures for that particular time frame. Look at the low temperatures for this particular time frame. By the time we get out into the next week, we're talking about being below freezing for this. In fact, by the time that second storm system comes through, according to the European model, the Euro model, by next Wednesday morning at 7 p.m., it's got us at -5 degrees Fahrenheit. 5 below zero, in other words, by the time Wednesday morning comes. And it actually has us about 9 below on Thursday morning. So we take that with a grain of salt right now. Is it going to get that cold? I don't know. That, of course, is because it gives us a very large snow system on Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, and on top of the bitter cold air that's already in place. So is that going to happen or not? We'll have to see, but keep in mind we've got some bitter cold temperatures ahead for us. And in fact, if I just switch over to the GFS ensembles, let me show you the 15-day temperature spread between that, and you can see, and by the way, this 60 on the 5th is not going to happen. That's just ridiculous. That's way off base. But I want to show you the other portion of this is we have our warm, and then it's just all downhill from there, and there's no relief from the cold as far as the end in sight. The good news is by the time we get into that time frame, this doesn't take us into the negatives. It only takes us into the mid-teens with this particular model, but that's still cold enough. So by and large, we're going to be very cold over the coming days, regardless of whether we see this particular thing happen or not. So if you go to southernIndianaweather.com, you can check out the 7-day forecast. I'm taking us to 64 tomorrow. Scattered showers possible. I think the better chance for rain comes on Thursday, but we only warm up to 46, and it's going to turn sharply colder. The front will actually pass through on Wednesday night into Thursday morning, so temperatures should fall through the 40s during the daytime, even into the potentially upper 30s to mid-30s by the time you commute home on Thursday. And then, of course, the fun stuff starts to happen on Thursday night. Thursday night looks like whenever we'll see that best chance for a wintry mix of precipitation. So again, Thursday night, we've got a chance of freezing rain and even some sleet mixing in with that snow accumulation, and then turning over to an all-snow event on Friday. And I have not put any official numbers on my snow totals yet. I've just showed you the models. I just put some snow and ice accumulation likely. The reality is this far out, it's hard to predict with any degree of accuracy. The models change all the time. But if I had to put any rough guess on right now, I would say a good 2 to 4 inches of snow could be very possible with this system. And of course, that will change over time as well. So keep it here. We'll have more of these video updates coming for you as more data comes in. Keep in mind these models change all the time, and probably will continue to change more as time goes by, but I'll be here to bring you the latest of updates. Just understand the biggest take home from this is that winter weather is on the way. The winter storm watch, I believe, will likely be upgraded to a winter storm warning by Thursday, and travel could be very hectic with this. So make your preparations now for potentially even some power outages with this, folks. It's looking pretty rough. Keep it right here to Southern Indiana weather. We'll have more updates to come for Southern Indiana weather. I'm meteorologist Michael Wilhite. Have a great night, folks.